A few days ago, I was informed of the suicide of a friend of mine, a man I hadn't seen for a dozen years. Even then, suicide was all he could talk about, so I wasn't surprised at the news. It's not that I think dying is a tragedy. We all die, that's not the tragedy. Maybe nothing is a tragedy, but I think we can say that to live without appreciating this life is at least a shame. It's a precious opportunity we have to be alive as human beings. It has been said that the chance of having a human life is something like being picked up as one grain of sand out of all the grains on the beach. It's such a rare chance, and yet somehow, as in the case of my friend, some error arises. Some of that error is present in each one of us, not fully appreciating what we have just in being alive. So today, what I want to talk about is having no hope. Sounds terrible, doesn't it? Actually, it's not terrible at all. A life lived with no hope is a peaceful, joyous, compassionate life. As long as we identify with this mind and body, and we all do, we hope for things that we think will take care of them. We hope for success. We hope for health. We hope for enlightenment. We have all sorts of things we hope for. All hope, of course, is about sizing up the past and projecting it into the future. Anyone who sits for any length of time sees that there is no past and no future except in our mind. There is nothing but self, and self always is here, present. It's not hidden. We're racing around like mad trying to find something called self, this wonderful hidden self. Where's it hidden? We hope for something that's going to take care of this little self because we don't realize that already we are self. There's nothing around us that is not self. What are we looking for? A student recently loaned me a book on a text by Dogen Zenji called Tenzo Kyakan. It is Dogen Zenji's writings on his ideas of what a tenzo, a head cook, should be, the qualities of a tenzo, the life of a tenzo. From Dogen Zenji's point of view, the tenzo should be one of the most mature and meticulous students in the monastery. If his practice is not what a tenzo's practice should be, then, from Dogen Zenji's viewpoint, the life of the entire monastery suffers. But obviously Dogen Zenji, in describing these qualities of a tenzo and the directions for how a tenzo should do his work, is not just talking about the tenzo. He's talking about the life of any Zen student, any bodhisattva. And so it's very instructive and pertinent reading. So what do we find as he describes this life of an enlightened tenzo? Some mystic vision? Some rapturous state? Not at all. There are many paragraphs on how to clean the sand out of the rice or the rice out of the sand. Very, very detailed. There's nothing in the management of the kitchen that Dogen Zenji left out. He writes about where to put the ladles, how to hang the ladles. Let me read you one paragraph. Next, you should not carelessly throw away the water that remains after washing the rice. In olden times, a cloth bag was used to filter out the water when it was thrown away. When you have finished washing the rice, put it into the cooking pot. Take special care lest a mouse accidentally falls into it. Under no circumstances allow anyone who happens to be drifting through the kitchen to poke his fingers around or look into the pot. What is Dogen Zenji telling us? He didn't write this just for the tenzo. What can we all learn? In this writing, Dogen Zenji repeats a famous story. If we understand this one story, we really understand what Zen practice is. Young Dogen Zenji went to China to visit monasteries for practice and study. And one day at one of them, on a very hot June afternoon, he saw the elderly tenzo working hard outside the kitchen. He was spreading out mushrooms to dry on a straw mat. He carried a bamboo stick but had no hat on his head. The sun's rays beat down so harshly that the tiles along the walk burned one's feet. He worked hard and was covered with sweat. I could not help but feel the work was too much of a strain for him. His back was a bow drawn taut, his long eyebrows were crane white. I approached and asked his age. He replied that he was 68 years old. Then I went on to ask him why he never used any assistance. He answered, "Other people are not me." "You are right," I said. "I can see that your work is the activity of the Buddha Dharma, but why are you working so hard in the scorching sun?" He replied, "If I do not do it now, when else can I do it?" There was nothing else for me to say. As I walked on along that passageway, I began to sense inwardly the true significance of the role of Tenzo. The elderly Tenzo said, "Other people are not me." Let's look at this statement. What he is saying is, my life is absolute. No one can live it for me. No one can feel it for me. No one can serve it for me. My work, my suffering, my joy are absolute. There's no way, for instance, you can feel the pain in my toe or I can feel the pain in your toe. No way. You can't swallow for me. You can't sleep for me. And that is the paradox in totally owning the pain, the joy, the responsibility of my life. If I see this point clearly, then I'm free. I have no hope, I have no need for anything else. But we are usually living in vain hope for something or someone that will make my life easier, more pleasant. We spend most of our time trying to set life up in a way so that will be true, when, contrary-wise, the joy of our life is just in totally doing and just bearing what must be borne, in just doing what has to be done. It's not even what has to be done, it's there to be done, so we do it. Dogen Zenji speaks of the self settling naturally on the self. What does he mean by that? He means that only you can experience your own pain, your own joy. If there is one impression that comes into your life that is not received, then in that second you die a little bit. None of us completely lives like that, but at least we don't need to lose 90% of the experience of our life. If I do not do it now, when else can I do it? Only I can take care of the self from morning to night. Only I can receive life. And it's this contact, second by second by second, which Dogen Zenji is talking about as he describes the day of the Tenzo. Take care of this. Take care of that and that. Not just washing the rice, but doing it carefully, grain by grain. Not just throwing the water out. Each bite we take of our food. Each word I say. Each word you say. Each encounter, each second. That's it. Not chanting with your mind somewhere else, not half doing the dishes, not half doing anything. I can remember when I used to daydream literally 4 or 5 hours at a time. And now sadly I see so many people dreaming their lives away. Sometimes a man or a woman dreams of an ideal partner, they dream and they dream. But when we live life in dreams and hopes, then what life can offer, that man or woman sitting right next to us, ordinary, unglamorous, the wonder of that life escapes us because we are hoping for something special, for some ideal. And what Dogen Zenji is telling us is that real practice has nothing to do with that. We're saying, once again, that Zazen, sitting, is enlightenment. Why? Because second after second as we sit, that's it. The old Tenzo spreading seaweed, that's a passionate life, spending his life preparing food for others. Actually, all of us are constantly preparing food for others. This food can be typing, it can be doing math or physics, it can be taking care of our children. But do we live our life with that attitude of appreciation for our work? Or are we always hoping, oh, somewhere there's got to be more than this? Yes, we're all hoping. Not only do we hope, but we really give our life to this hope, to these vain thoughts and fantasies. And when they don't produce for us, we are anxious, even desperate. One of my students recently told me a good story. It's about a man who was sitting on his roof because a tidal wave was sweeping through his village. The water was well up to the roof when along came a rescue team in a rowboat. They tried hard to reach him, and finally when they did, they shouted, "Well, come on. Get into the boat." And he said, No, God will save me." So the water rose higher and higher, and he climbed higher and higher on the roof. The water was very turbulent, but still another boat managed to make its way to him. Again, they begged him to get into the boat and to save himself. And again he said, "No, no, no. God will save me. I'm praying. God will save me." Finally, the water was almost over him, just his head was sticking out. Then along came a helicopter. It came down right over him and they called, "Come on. This is your last chance. Get in here." Still he said, "No, no, no. God will save me." Finally, his head went under the water and he drowned. When he got to heaven, he complained to God, "God, why didn't you try to save me?" And God said, "I did. I sent you 2 rowboats and a helicopter." We spend a lot of time looking for something called the truth. And there is no such thing except in each second, each activity of our life. But our vain hope for a resting place somewhere makes us ignorant and unappreciative of what is here right now. So in session in Zazen, what does it mean to have no hope? It means, of course, to really do Zazen, to just sit. Nothing is wrong with dreams and fantasies. Just don't hold on to them, see their unreality and turn away. Stay with the only thing that's real, the experience of breath and the body and the environment. Now, none of us wants to abandon our hope. And to be honest, none of us is going to abandon it all at once. But we can have periods when for a few minutes or a few hours, there is just what is, just this flow. And we are more in touch with the only thing we'll ever have, which is our life. So if we practice like this, what reward will we get? If we really practice like this, it takes everything we have. What will we get out of it? The answer, of course, is nothing. So let's not have hope. We won't get anything. We'll get our life, of course, but we've got that already. So let's not be like my friend, failing to appreciate our life and our practice. This life is nirvana. Where did we think it was? Let's remember that old Tenzo. If we practice the way he spreads seaweed, then we can be rewarded with this nothing at all.